Hello, everyone. Today I will present about data wrangling using dplyr. And so in this presentation, I will focus on selecting data, dropping, reordering, renaming of variables. And you can get the code for this presentation at my GitHub. That means at this address, or you can also find on YouTube. That's Analytics Tube. So I will. Okay, I'll just quickly go with my quarto, which is shared in my GitHub address. So I'll show you what are the contents in that GitHub presentation. So in this presentation, I'll show you how we do, or I'll demonstrate how we can do selecting, dropping, recording, and renaming of variables in R. So we select. That means verbs, we use rename, relocate variables, and also identifying variables with start with or end with or contains and last column or matches. So we'll see how can we do this one. So maybe if I go to with a quick summary table. So in this summary table, for example, select is used to select a subset of variables based on the variable name, and rename is also used for renaming one or multiple columns. Relocate is used to move the columns. That means based on our preference. That means which helps to position the columns and also select ABC, something like that. For example, this is used for ordering. Everything is just all other variables. These are the selected variables. And so that one, the other one is to find the variables. For example, if you have a huge or many types of variables, so having starts with, ends with, contains, matches are very handy for selecting multiple variables. The other is when we want to select drop variables or deselect variables, we can include a minus sign before a variable. So it uses for removing a variable. And also when we want to select multiple variables, so we can put this minus sign in front of the variable, and then we can list as the columns or the variable names, for example, variable 1, variable 2, for dropping or removing multiple variables. This is also just the other option. For example, drop by pattern. For example, we can say drop starts with, for example, if we have temp, then we can say drop a variable which starts with temp, or select a variable which contains score. So we can have multiple options for selecting or for dropping by using contains or starts with or matches. The other one is renaming of the variable. So we can use rename and also we can use a prefix. For example, if we want to add a prefix before a variable, or we can also use suffix to add a variable at the end of the variable. So this is usually important to identify when we merge different variables, to identify what are the relevant, or to identify one variable from the other variables. For example, if we have a child data and the maternal data, so we can use, for example, suffix maternal or prefix child. So that's how we can easily identify variables. So this is a demonstration. So I'll go to with a demonstration. So with this, as I previously noted, I will see how can we select, rename, relocate variables, and also identify variables that's using verbs or like starts with, ends with, contains, and last columns match, something like that. So let's work with examples. So I will show you, for example, with breast cancer data. Now, I'm selecting only 3 variables, I think. How many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I selected only 5 variables. So now it shows, for example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is how can we select 5 variables out of how many variables do we have? So for breast cancer, we have around 40 variables. So from 40 variables, now we are selecting technically 3 variables. The other is reordering columns. So when we, or for example, sometimes we may be interested to identify or select variables which are maybe we just need some variables at the in front of or at the first or the second, third column. So for example, this is year is the first column, SES3 is the second, state is the third, and every other variables will be after state. So let's see this one, how it looks like. So now, as we see here, we have year, state, and these variables are coming first, and everything is coming after these variables. So this is one of the way we can use for reordering the variables. And the other is relocating specific columns before another variable. For example, we can say this variable before variable this, that means rate 15 to 74. So to do this, for example, we can use, so now we have participation and population before rate. So we have rate is this one. So now participation and population is coming before rate. So sometimes if we are interested to relocate a variable before the others, then we can use dot before and then equal to the variable name. The other option is using relocating after another variable. So for after another variable, for example, for this one, we are using dot after. So I am relocating SES3 and state in Australia after year, that means year variable. So when I click this one and if I see the first 3, so when we see year, this is the year variable. Yes, I will expand a bit. So now state and SES3 are coming after year. So this is one of the options to relocate variables based on our interest. The other one is dropping of variable. For example, in this case, we are dropping only one variable. So we are specifically dropping the expected breast. This is actually breast screening data. So the expected breast screening count. So I'm dropping this one and we'll see. So I will not see this variable anymore anyways. That means because I'm dropping or I'm deselecting the variable. So for example, we have participation population rate, but for others, we have, for example, we have participation population rate and expected count. So, but we have no expected count for 50 to 74 or population. So technically, this variable is dropped in our variable. The other is when we want to drop multiple variables. For example, in this case, I'm dropping 2 variables. You can also include, for example, rate. You can include rate. Yeah, we can include 50 to 74, or we can include, for example, SCS3 code if we are interested. SCS3 code name. So for example, if I click that and if I put comma, so now I'm dropping multiple variables. So I will not see these variables anymore. SCS3. So for example, expected 50 to 70 is not here. Rate 50 to 7. What is sorry, I just need to add minus. So if I do that, then last one. Now I have dropped all variables I want. So I will not see, for example, expected rate and SCS3 and SCS3 name. So that is one of the option to deselect multiple variables. The other is dropping variables by pattern. That means, for example, if I want to deselect or variables ending 50 to 69, or for example, I have variables that is ending with 69. So if I drop this one, so I will not see any more these variables. So see here, there is no variable that ends with 69. Technically, I have dropped 69. If I need 59, so I will not see any more 59 here. So I say here heading. So there is no variable in this with 59. So this is one of the option for dropping variables ending with or something like that. The other is renaming column if we are needing for clarity. For example, in this case, I want to rename SCS3 code to SCS3 in capital and in horizontal slash code. SCS rename. So rather than this one, I want to rename like this. Rather than here, I want to make Y capital. So let's say this is one of the options to rename anyways our variables. So we see the new variable and the new year. This is the new generated variable. And the other is adding prefix to all variables. For example, for breast cancer data, I want to add BC before all variables. So to do that, I use rename with, and this is a horizontal line, and then we use paste O. That means to paste immediately after the variable, then use breast cancer, that means BC horizontal slash, and then this XY is the variable, that means just this is the code anyways that helps to add a prefix. So as we see here, now we have added a code, that means BC, a prefix for each variable. The other is adding suffix. For example, if I want to add info for all variables, that means .x slash info, then this is one of the options to add a suffix. So this is, for example, adding info all in all of the variables here. So now I can remove the all new created variables to keep my original variable. So this is a quick presentation about how can we make renaming and dropping of variables. So I will also present different importing in the previous video, and also continue present on creating or modifying variables and generating new variables. So just follow the next presentation, and also you can also visit my GitHub for all this presentation, or you can follow on my YouTube, which is Analytics Tube. Thank you so much.